why is it always the things that hurt us the most that we end up pursuing? This concept can apply to a lot of things, and I don't want to get too spiritual or political, but I do want to talk about money. As a teenager, I went into college on a Division I basketball scholarship, ready to conquer the world. I had been getting $30 a week from my mother up to that point to pay for gas, and the first day I stepped on campus, I was handed a $1,300 cost of living check to pay for my expenses for the month. And what does a 17-year-old college kid do with all that money? It ain't anything smart. So to lay out this video, I want to talk about 5 specific things that I never want you to invest your money in, because I've either been burned by investing in these things in my life, or I've definitely seen some people get burned by investing with them in their life. And some of these items aren't necessarily investments, but they are things that we perceive as holding their value. And the first of those things is going to be cars. Now this one is actually a catch-22, because for transportation purposes, especially if you live in the continental United States, you need a car to get around. But a car as an investment, definitely not a good idea. Let's take my recent personal situation for example. I recently bought a 2023 Tesla Model Y, and in order to have room for that car in my driveway, I needed to trade in one of the other cars that I bought while I was still in college. And the car that I decided to trade in was a 2017 Kia Sorento that at the time I purchased for $17,000. And given that I bought that car 3 to 4 years ago and I put on a good bit of miles there, I was not expecting the trade-in valuation that I received from the dealership from trying to turn in a previously $17,000 car. Once I got to the dealership, they initially offered only $2,500 in trade-in value for that car. Yes, it was high mileage with 150,000 miles, but it was running perfectly. And after declining that offer and saying that I would just keep it, they came back and offered $4,500 for the car. And even at that point, I felt that the opportunity cost of giving that car to someone else who needed it far outweighed the $4,500 that I would receive in trade-in value from turning that car in. So that goes to say that if you're buying your $30,000 car and trying to add that to your net worth value because Credit Karma says it's worth $20,000 now, that number is absolutely false. The worth of your car or even anything that you own is only as much as people are willing to pay for it. And Credit Karma said that specific car was worth about $11,000, even though it was only offered $4,500 from a dealership. So if you have cars, great, but don't add them to your net worth, because what you can actually sell them for will always be much less than what you can actually think you can sell them for. I was fortunate enough in my case to not have to trade in a car to get another car, but for some people who are, this can be a very rude awakening, just like other people who invest their money in jewelry with the expectation that their diamonds would hold their value. And as I said, don't take this video out of context and try to say that I'm bashing anything that involves you using your money how you want to use it. I think that you have every right to use your money and enjoy your money in any way that you see fit. But as far as investment decisions go, if you're trying to invest your money so that it holds its value and grows its value, jewelry is absolutely not the way to go. Most of the value in a custom jewelry piece is not in the diamonds itself. It is going to be in the labor and man hours it took to produce that piece specifically for its first customer. And even if it's not a specific piece, from the moment you take a piece of jewelry from the jewelry store, it drops in value by at least 50%. For example, you go and find a nice Cuban link chain at a jewelry store for $10,000. The man says it's worth $12,000, but he's going to give you a deal because you're his good friend and give it to you for $10,000. You buy that piece of jewelry, put it on your neck, walk out of the store telling all your friends you got $10,000 on your neck, only to find out 30 days later when you try to sell it to someone else, they're only willing to give you $4,000 to $5,000 for it. Where did that $5,000 go in 30 days? Well, part of it is that even though your jewelry is actually worth $10,000, it's only worth $10,000 from a jeweler. As a customer trying to sell it back to a jeweler, they are going to be wanting to buy it at a low enough price to where they can make a profit on it. If you had your own jewelry store, then you may be able to resell it for $10,000, but most of the time, the longer you keep your piece of jewelry and the more out of style it gets, it will continue to depreciate more and more until it no longer has any value but for the scrap metals and the diamonds they can get out of it. So investing your money in jewelry is not the best idea. If you want to actually invest your money, I would say just get some index funds and invest in the stock market. Or if you actually wanted some real precious metals, then buy some gold or silver bullions, because it does not hold its value. But this next investment that you should never make is called the poor people tax for a reason, and that is going to be by playing the lottery. Now in my state, the state of Alabama, we actually don't have a lottery, but I used to live in the state of Georgia where the Mega Millions was a big deal for anyone whenever they can play it. And the reason why the lottery is called a poor people tax is because the majority of the money that the lottery actually makes comes from people below the poverty line trying to use their last sources of income to strike it big and hopefully make it out of their situations by some way of chance. But because there are so many people playing the lottery and because your chances are so low, you will be better off walking outside, putting your hands up and hoping that it rains diamonds in order to get out of your situation. I know that it can be tempting when you see someone win $500 million or $1 billion just from playing the lottery, but when you start to peel back the layers on how actually lucky that person really was, you could ball up dollar bills and throw them in the trash and have a better ROI than you could playing the lottery. And as I said, that is because the lottery is a game to take advantage of hope. People hope they win. People hope that they're going to be that 1 in 10 million people to get that number drawn. And because it is so random, the statistics say that you will be spending over $1,000 in your lifetime playing the lottery while never actually making that money back in return. And I bet as you're scrolling through your Instagram feed or your Facebook feed, you are going to be seeing some post that says tap in if you have a USA bank or a Navy Federal Bank or any other bank. And this is one investment scheme that shouldn't even be on this list because it's so obvious, but try to avoid as much as you can any bank scams. Now I'm going to tell you how this bank scam works for entertainment purposes, but please don't try to seek it out because you may actually end up going to jail. So how these tap in posts works where people want specific banks is that you will have to provide that scam artist with your bank information as far as your routing number and your account number. And what they would do is that they will forge a check for you to deposit from your mobile app. Now some specific banks, if you have a lot of history with that account, will automatically clear your mobile check deposit. So if a scammer gives you a $25,000 check, the bank based on your history will put that $25,000 in your account before it actually clears to them. So what the scammer will do is that once the money is in your account, they will either withdraw the money themselves or tell you to go withdraw the full amount from the ATM and keep the lion's share of it while giving you a portion of the profits. They could split this 50-50, but most of the time they're going to be giving you 20% and keeping 80% for themselves. But the thing is, what happens is that because the check is fraudulent, once the bank finds out that it doesn't clear, it is going to withdraw that balance from your account. So if they gave you a $10,000 check and you withdraw $10,000 from the ATM, your account will now be in a negative for $10,000. A lot of the times the scammer will then tell you to call the bank and say that it was fraudulent, that somebody gave you a bad check, and then 9 times out of 10 the bank will then close your account and refuse to do business with you again. So yes, you may have made a little bit of money in the short run, but you now are blacklisted from a major bank and even other banks if they communicate just for a small profit. And this is actually a federal offense, so if you get caught, you could be facing prison time as well as hefty fines. So I shouldn't have to tell you to avoid this at all costs. But one of the biggest things that you should avoid investing your money in at all costs, and I left this for the final point of this video, is investing your money in nothing. By doing nothing at all, you're going to be costing yourself the most money than any of the other investments I'll talk about in this video. If you are watching this video in your 20s or in your early teens even, get started investing now. You don't have to get started with a lot of money, but just get started. Because if you start your Roth IRA now, you put $5 in there, you start putting $5 in there every week or every month. As your confidence grows and as your portfolio grows, it will begin to snowball. This is called compound interest. And as compound interest starts to work more and more in your favor, you will start to fast track your way to become a millionaire. And I would say that one of the best ways to do this is just start by reading books. If you don't like reading, just watch YouTube videos just like this one to learn how to get started investing. But the worst thing that you can do is to wait till you're 45 or 50 years old and you're only 10 years away from retirement to then start thinking about your investments. If you start thinking about it in your early 20s, you are realistically going to be setting yourself up to become a millionaire. And if I am able to help you on that journey, then I am all for it, because I believe that this is one of the first steps that you can take to build generational wealth and move your entire family into a new tax bracket. One of my main motivations growing up was to give my children a different life than I grew up in, and just by learning how to invest efficiently, that definitely helped me out along the way. And if you found one thing of value in this video, then hit that subscribe button, as I do make videos about side hustles, investing, and starting businesses. And if you do plan to stick around, I will see you in the next one, guys.